Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a game that undoubtedly got a ton of love and effort poured into. There are things I still discover even after hundreds of hours of playtime and multiple playthroughs that completely blow me away. So today we're checking out more secret unlocks, Easter eggs, and features that you very likely missed upon. But before we jump in, a quick word from today's sponsor. Revenge of the Savage Planet is an upcoming third-person action adventure in which you get to explore vibrant planets, fight weird aliens, and customize your own habitat. It's a new entry in the Savage Planet franchise, completely third person, and the game also launches with both online and couch co-op on these platforms starting May 8th. It also features a gameplay loop that looks highly addictive and action-packed. Your character is well equipped to navigate all alien terrain and overcome challenging combat encounters with engaging boss battles. Much of the alien fauna can also be captured and then displayed back at your customizable habitat. I also gotta say that I'm loving the satirical action as well as the funny looking animations. So if you're the same, totally check out Revenge of the Savage Planet releasing on May 8th and use my links down below to wishlist now on Steam. Plus, if you buy it within the first week, you're going to get a nice extra discount, as well as a bonus Cinco de Mayo in-game suit. And if you buy it within a month on Steam, you're also going to get a free copy of the first game as well. Huge thanks again to the team for sponsoring today's video. Coming up to number 1, you can unlock a very strong secret perk called Resistance, which gives you a very nice vitality and stamina buff. And this actually makes a return from the previous game, except that now you have to collect 200 poisonous plants. Except that can be done extremely fast because there's so much nettle just outside of Trotsky, right here by this fence, and also a ton right here by this house. And literally every time you collect some of this, you will get anywhere between 10 to 25 per, so it only takes literally a couple of minutes of collecting everything over here to get that resistance perk right away. Now this gives +2 to vitality, which also means getting roughly 10 or so extra stamina, which at that early stage is going to be extremely useful. In fact, the game features at least a handful of other powerful secret perks you can unlock via different means. You likely got accustomed with one of them at the very least, which is good old Pebbles. This one gives a massive boost to Pebbles' stats, pretty much turning her into a high-end horse right from the moment you hit at least 35 kilometers with her. So she's not going to be the best in the game even with these stats, but she's going to probably be your best option until you get others a bit later down the line. One of which includes herring. The moment you hit back in the saddle, you have the option to also get this one for free. And if you traverse 50 kilometers with it, you're going to get a similar perk. This time around, it's called the red herring. This can actually be a good alternative if you instead want to prioritize having a bit better stamina, speed, and courage, but at the cost of having slightly less capacity compared to Pebbles with that activated perk. But later down the line in the game, you're going to have other alternatives that are even better in terms of stats. But this is not all. We also have steak tartare, which is actually very useful. You can now eat straight up raw meat without the fear of poisoning, and the nourishment from raw meat is also very good. So in this case, you're going to get it by stealing a secret potion from the Rapstein Mill Ruin, which is just a bit further southwest from nearby Billany. In this case, you're going to find these ruins, which are highly protected by soldiers, so either dispose of them or just rob them during the nighttime. You're going to eventually reach this laboratory, and on one of the tables, you should find the secret potion. Consume it, and now you have that permanent buff, which is going to make hunting even more useful. Anyway, we have a few more that you will easily also trigger. One is the sticky finger. If you steal at least 10,000 groschen, you're going to get this, which is going to make any successful steal or robbing bodies give you a bit of extra groschen every time. Not going to lie, I passed this a long time ago since I literally stole politician level of groschen value from just playing. Another one is the Lab Dweller. If you craft about 20 or so potions, you're going to also get this. It's going to make effects of potions and alcohol to last longer, and also hangovers will last a bit shorter. So especially if you go with an alcoholic build, which can actually be very strong, this can help a ton with it. And you can also use the Secrets of Matter to craft a lot more potions every time you do brew something. And finally, the hammer. This is going to make attacks and blocks made with heavy weapons to consume 10% less stamina. This can actually be done very easily if you just craft a ton of horseshoes. This is also how I have, just farmed craftsmanship in the early stages. So if you just craft about 10 or 20 of those, again, you're going to eventually get this. And since we talked about secret perks, you might want to know that various gear pieces can have extra bonuses to different stats. Like for example, in the case of the leather apron and leather gloves, they give a total of plus 5 points to your craftsmanship if you have these on you when you're doing any crafting. This includes blacksmithing as well. So this is something that you can actually unlock very early because you find them at Takov in your room at the blacksmith. The apron is just by the bed and a pair of gloves should be right here in the back. But that is a game changer because now you can craft higher quality gear much sooner than you normally can. You still cannot unlock perks sooner than you would otherwise by reaching those levels normally, but it's still going to be helpful because of the quality increase. And by the way, you can farm a little bit of extra craftsmanship early on by using Keen Eye and just going at any blacksmith to repair all of your gear. And then at nighttime, you can go ahead and rob all of those money you have spent back, since most of them have chests nearby. Especially the one at Trotsky is notorious because the chest is literally right next to his bed. Moving on to number 3, there's a secret way to actually get infinite number of armor sets pretty much for absolutely free at the end of a very simple quest chain. And that is going to be via the quest chain called Bellatores. In this one, you're going to find Sir Ian right here at Billany, and you're going to help him in his endeavor. Eventually, he and his brother that you help rescue will settle themselves right here at the ruins of Zimberg, which is just a bit further down south from Billany. And this is exactly where you need to be. Not only is this a camp in which you can sleep, but now you pretty much can rob them of all of their high-end loot. And guess what? They will respawn all of that loot every couple of days, if not even the same day, depending on the gear piece. So in this case, during the day, you can converse with them or train with them. I definitely recommend training because there's a very strong ability you can get from Ian. But at night, you can go ahead and just steal everything from their tent. As you can see, they feature pieces from the Milanese, Noble, as well as the Kuttenberg armor sets. And the thing about this is that they constantly regenerate some of these pieces even every single day. Even if you steal everything that they put in the chest, the next morning they will have at least part of those armors equipped on them. Which means if you pass the time to nighttime again, you can steal most of those pieces once again. And if you wait like 2 or 3 in-game days, every single one of those armors will spawn once again, so you can go ahead and re-steal them. These can cost 1000 of groschen if you sell them, so this can be a very good money-making method, or at the very least, a good way to get some nice armor for free without being questioned about it. You can then place all of the stolen armors right here in your stash, since it's in the same camp right by your bed, so you can literally do this within the same location without having to travel anywhere. But since we were on the subject of loot and getting strong gear, one thing we talked about before was the Kuttenberg tournaments. These are going to be extremely useful as you can get some of the best pieces for free if you win the duels. But guess what? You don't actually even have to participate in the duel. What you can do is just skip all of that and just turn the time to nighttime once again, but still remain in the same location so that the tournament doesn't despawn. If you pay attention, there's not going to be anybody around any longer, and now you can pretty much rob the chests with everything that's been inside of them, groschen and high-end gear included. Huge thanks to some of you guys who pointed it out to me in one of the previous videos. But let's keep on going. And did you know that there's a whole tunnel system below Kuttenberg? Pretty much a whole area that doesn't just give you access to almost every single high-end shop in Kuttenberg very easily, but also some extra treasures and even Easter eggs. So there are a couple of ways in which you can get the Kuttenberger map. You can also go ahead and screenshot it right here, as this is going to be very useful if you want to do a bit of extra robbery at night. And in this case, there were a couple of ways in which I was able to discover the map. One was via the striped Tonies. This is by just helping the yaks over here at the end of their quest chain. Eventually, you have to just pass a quick puzzle with the Archbishop here. And if you pass that successfully, one of these yaks will actually give you that map for you. That was at least how I did it on my first playthrough. However, there is an even quicker method in the story mission called Into the Underworld. So during this, you're going to have to find the whereabouts of a character named Goatskin. This is going to eventually bring you at the bathhouses near the tournament area, where you have to speak to the bathhouse keeper in this case and inquire about Goatskin. Make sure you do that first and then talk to Adam, who is going to give you some extra information about a missing astrolabe for a peculiar character that came from Prague. From here, if you follow the mission normally and find the goat skin, eventually you're going to have the dialogue option to inquire about Master Schindle's things, which is a dialogue that is easily missable, so when you trigger that, make sure that you don't skip on it or pick anything else. Pick this so that that extra side objective also turns on. And this is going to bring you to the Kuttenberg's gallows here west outside of the city. Go over here, loot the body, and now you have the map. From here you can complete that mission however you see fit, but now you also have the map of the underground, which is going to give you so many opportunities to go inside other people's shops and just steal everything at night. This way you're not going to raise any suspicions, plus it's going to be slightly easier to approach them from beneath the cellar. Which also brings us to the Easter egg portion of the video, and let me tell you, this game has a ton of them, but here are just a few of my favorites. So one of them is already indicated on that underground map. It's pretty much going to be a vampire if you pay attention to this small drawing on the western side of it. So that one actually leads just a bit below the water fountain on the western gate. If you head over through any of the nearby house cellars, go down a couple of ladders, eventually you should reach a flat area, and if you pay attention in the back, there should be an open coffin with an actual vampire inside. It's kind of funny because it looks like one of the monks at Sedlitz Monastery, but it also features a stake through the heart and also a couple of markings on the face, and even a golden crucifix on it, so that obviously it repels any evil. And if you look around, you will also see a bunch of skulls over there and other items, but that's pretty much all there is to it. Another one is a reference to the Seven Dwarfs. If you go a bit northwest from Bohunovitz, if you go a bit further deep into the forest, eventually you're going to stumble upon this smaller house. And if you go inside, you will see something even smaller. This includes 7 small beds and a bunch of very small clothing befitting something like a dwarf. And if you pay attention to the main bed, you should see Snow White, or well, some alternative of her that never actually made it and is also a bit more stiff, but you also have the poison apple next to her head. Unfortunately, curiosity got the better of me, so I tested out that bitten apple, and guess what? It literally hit me with a very nasty tiredness debuff and the weak lullaby potion effect, which basically set my whole energy to 0. And the worst part about this is that I just slept a few hours ago in the game, so I wasn't able to sleep for at least 10 more hours, which made the next part even more excruciatingly painful. So yeah, maybe don't eat random apples that you find bitten in random strange places. Anyway, since we talked about Sedlitz Monastery, here in the main courtyard to the right side, you should find a Dark Souls / Elden Ring reference. Pretty much, if you go through the bushes, you're going to eventually stumble upon a bonfire with a weapon stub in the middle of the charcoal / burning camp. And in this case, you can go ahead and pull it out. It doesn't really do anything. It's a regular weapon stub, but it's just one of the many Souls references that exist in this game. Another one is that you can find a secret developer room very close to the bathhouse to the western side of Kuttenberg. In this case, if you go through the main courtyard and again into the corner with the big bushes, eventually you should drop 1 level below, and this is going to bring you to a former developer room. You can see a ton of skeletons here of folks who actually worked diligently on a project that looks highly ambitious with a ton of sketches and maps of in-game areas. So likely a nod to Warhorse Studios' diligent team who actually put in so much effort into this game. Also, Catwoman is in Kingdom Come too, but not in the way you think. It's actually just an old lady surrounded by a ton of cats, which you can find right here further northwest from Sedlitz Monastery. So if you go ahead here and check out the lady's whereabouts, you're going to notice that there are so many cats pretty much everywhere. Hard to spot because of how small they are and how fast they move, but you can definitely try to get close and they will constantly try to run away from you. There's way more in an abandoned shack a bit further away from the house if you just follow the main trail, which I found to be pretty funny. I mean, cats are always cool, so why not? But on a final note, one thing that I'm still shocked about is how much the developers thought about in terms of how we can finish various main story missions. And one in which I found Capon extremely annoying was during my rescue mission, taking the French leave, when I had to actually rescue him from Malishov. And in this case, this incessant bastard really didn't want to go through the tunnels with me. But there's actually a way to still bring him through the tunnels, and that is after you talk to him and Brabant, you can just let them speak for a little bit up until he goes to the main window. And now you have the opportunity to actually take Capon out without him noticing. Even Brabant will remark that things will be much less difficult now that Capon is unconscious, plus you're going to have a completely different cutscene at the end of the mission.
I will be right on your heels. En fait, it is a good idea after all. That passage will be safer.
What the hell is going on? Henry, why is my head pounding?
You must have banged it while I was carrying you through that passageway.
What passageway?
You see, Monsieur Capon, you finally overcame your fear with a little help from a friend.
Now, I have some horses ready a short way from here. Let's get moving.
Fine. Let's go then. But we're not going to speak of this ever again. Never. Understand?
I won't breathe a word about it. Same as how you got shot in the arse in Kuttenberg.
I will enjoy hearing that histoire. Monsieur Capon kept that a secret from me.
Would you please shut up? Let's get out of here.
But one that was very shocking to me is that you can actually get a completely alternate ending during the mission, the King's Gambit, in which you can actually literally assassinate King Sigismund. Leaving aside that it doesn't really make historical sense and that never happened, I am so happy that developers actually added this in, and you can trigger it relatively easily. So what I recommend doing and how I did it was basically I hid a dagger in one of the drawers in the room very next to where the council meeting was taking place. In this case, you have to do it before that council meeting actually starts because you're going to have all of your weapons and former gear removed during that mission. And in this case, it's going to be there if you placed it beforehand, you can take it, and now just wait for your moment when King Sigismund appears. So during that scene, when I came back to serve wine to him, what I did is basically just snuck behind him, and before the guards even got a chance to react, I absolutely stabbed the living hell out of him. Which ended the game over there on the spot, but not before doing a bunch of spasms because obviously we just broke the timeline. But in this case, we also have Henry dying at the hand of the guards. Also, King Wenceslas returns to the throne. Ian Huss was never burned at the stake, and the Hussite War never took place. So that is a very strange but singular case in which you can actually somewhat break the timeline. And yeah, that pretty much concludes today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.